Alright, man, peace. So, brothers, numerous times on this channel, I've mentioned the concept of the LeBron James system and the archetype of that type of NBA basketball player. The player who has to be at the hub of every aspect of the team's offense and oftentimes gets hidden on defense. I've noted that LeBron James, of course, is probably the greatest player of that type in the history of the NBA. And he's not the first player of that type. In the 60s, you had Oscar Robertson, who had to be in control of everything. But back in that era, players of that type did not have the level of influence on the floor that the modern day player does, because of the importance and the affluence of the big man during that time period. But if you look through the records of the Cincinnati Royals during Oscar Robertson's tenure on that team, starting in 1960 all the way through the early 70s, for the most part, that team was a 500 team. Just like Russell Westbrook's teams are normally a little bit above 500. James Harden has been able to get his team up into the low 50s in regards to wins. But remember, we're playing in an era today where the offenses are much more spread, and a lot of the attention and the importance of the big man, and when I say the big man, I mean both the power forward and the center, is not as accentuated in today's game, offensively and defensively, because at one time, you'd have a power forward and a center waiting in the paint for a player to try to penetrate the lane. You don't have that anymore. So that allows a player like a James Harden or LeBron James to win 50-plus games playing in a player-centric style. That archetype has existed. It's been in the NBA for a while now. It's just normally not successful when it comes to winning championships, because when you encounter a high IQ basketball team, as opposed to a team that just wants to make sure that they illuminate how great one player is on their squad, that high IQ basketball team is always going to win out. Always. And certain people out there may disagree with me that LeBron James is the best player of that type in the history of the NBA. They may state that, well, Oscar Robertson was better. No, LeBron James is a tad bit better than Oscar Robertson. Not by much, but just by a tad. So anyway, Mr. Kevin Durant decided that he was going to levy a series of subliminal attacks on players of that type. Not just LeBron, but also Russell Westbrook, James Harden, etc. We're just going to pay very close attention to what he stated. Of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
All right, the LeBron sweepstakes in full force, but I want to focus on KD, guys, who had an interesting quote to Yahoo Sports that I want to get to. Talking about being on Golden State, he said this: I feel like it's easy to be the best player when you don't have good players around you. I feel like it's harder to stand out when you have great players around you.
Now, what is KD really stating there? He's saying I could put up big numbers if I was playing on a team where they ran the Kevin Durant system. When you go and you become a part of a real team that has a real system, and then on top of that has other great players on that team, for you to shine above them at various crucial moments over the course of a season into the postseason, that truly is where you're able to distinguish yourself as a great, great player. And that's what made LeBron James a truly great, great player, where he transcended and was able to shine playing with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in an actual system. Now, he's actually taken a step back in his overall understanding of team concepts since he's gone back to Cleveland. But that was an indirect shot at LeBron James, at Russell Westbrook, at James Harden, or James Harden. Let me correct myself. Let me give a brother a little bit of credit. It's going to take a while for me to get used to calling him James Harden because of his natural proclivities. But as Kevin Durant was stating in this little blurb here, and I totally agree with him, when Michael Jordan became a part of the Chicago Bulls triangle offense in the early 90s, you saw new wrinkles added to his game mentally. His overall basketball acumen jumped to a whole other level. The same thing with Kobe Bryant in 2007. That's why I state that, in my view, Kobe did not truly become an outstanding overall basketball player until the 2007-2008 season. Of course, he was a great talent before that. He was a great show, a great spectacle before that. But until that season, in my view, he was not a great overall basketball player.
I pride myself on standing out wherever I am. I can't wait to get into this. Look who's here, our friend Will Kane. Good morning, Will.
Good morning. Welcome back, folks.
Thank you, thank you.
What's going on? What's up?
Stephen A., I'm going to start with you on this one. What's KD really saying? Because I feel like he's taking shots at people.
I won't say he's necessarily taking shots at them. I think that he's just addressing that archetype. He's letting it be known that there are different types of greatness, and that some types of greatness are easier to assume than others. And that's also a bit of a clapback to those who say that KD went to a great team and took the easy way out, because that is not the easy way out. If LeBron James were to go to the Houston Rockets, they're going to have to change their style of play to suit him, because he is unable to acclimate himself to other forms of offense, especially at this stage in his career where he's not desperate. When he went to Miami, he was desperate. So he was willing to acclimate. And then even after that first season, Dwayne Wade had to divest control over the team to LeBron James so that he could ease LeBron's mind. That's why they brought Dwayne Wade onto the Cleveland Cavaliers this season after they lost Kyrie, because they felt like LeBron would need some psychological support.
Well, listen, one could argue he was taking a shot at LeBron right there. I mean, considering the way the Cavs looked in the NBA Finals, and considering the fact that we've used that really as motivation to just highlight the greatness of LeBron James at every turn, it could be interpreted as that. I definitely think that you can peel from that. But for me, I also happen to believe that he's right. The key word is best player. When he said you can be the best player on a bad team, he's right about that. It is harder to stand out on an elite team than it is to be the best player on a bad team.
Absolutely. And I remember even as a kid, you see teams all throughout the NBA that were 20 games under 500, and they'd have one player averaging 23, 24 a game. I remember a player named Reggie Theus. He used to do that a lot on very bad teams. Average 21, 22 a game on terrible teams. Don't mean shit.
That is factually correct. But I don't think that that's all there was to what he was saying. I think the fact that we're peeling directly off of the outcome of this NBA Finals, where the Golden State Warriors ended up sweeping LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers, the manner in which we've talked about LeBron ad nauseum throughout this postseason, and we've lamented what he's had to work with. Very rarely, remembering to bring up the point that he had a lot to do with that roster that was assembled.
Thank you, sir. I don't understand how you complain that much about your teammates when you're the one who picked your teammates. You're the GM, LeBron James.
I think that Kevin Durant was just reminding us all that it might actually be harder to do what he's doing than what LeBron James did with that, what LeBron James was doing with that particular team in terms of being recognized as the best player on the team.
Or even Westbrook. I mean, like, you could see this as KD talking about LeBron and or Westbrook. Look.
Absolutely. Why is that? Because they play in the same style. This is what I've been telling many of you brothers who listen to my channel for a long time now. All LeBron James is a bigger version, a smarter version of Russell Westbrook. They play in the same style.
Look, they can rack up huge numbers when they don't have a lot around them and they get all this credit, but what about what I'm doing? But I don't know that he's taking a shot at LeBron or Westbrook here. You can see it that way. I don't. I see it that KD is essentially responding to the criticism, or at least the commentary by many, that he has less to do than LeBron. That it is.
I think that KD is paying issuance to all those sentiments at once. That's what made his statements to me so profound and so timely, and good for him.
It's easier when you are the featured player and the best player and the purest scorer on a great team. Even if you're, as you always say, 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan, Stephen A., and a good defender, KD, a consistently excellent defender. It's not that he's not doing other things, it's that he doesn't have to worry about running the entire team. Steph is the point guard. KD is their number one scoring option on a team with a lot of scoring options. He'd be right if he said it's hard to put up those counting numbers. That's true. Ask Chris Bosh. He was still a great player, but often not recognized that way because he didn't put up the counting numbers when he was playing with LeBron and Wade. He just contributed to championships because he's a great and unselfish player. And I think KD's also a great and unselfish player, but his talent is such that he can never not put up counting numbers. Now, yes, his counting numbers will be diminished somewhat on this team compared to LeBron's or Westbrook's, sure.
Absolutely. His overall cumulative stats are not going to be what they were on OKC. Like, for example, he's not going to score 2,500 points in a season or 2,300 points in a season. His average points per game are going to dip probably 2 or 3 points, but his proficiency numbers are going to go through the roof. It's going to be nothing for KD to shoot 54, 55% in a season, as long as he's concentrating.
Or compared to what he would have done on another team. But he's being recognized for his excellence. He has so much talent that he will always be excellent. No one's questioning that. People are simply saying that it is easier to be him than it is to be LeBron James.
Well, here's the question for you, Max Kellerman. Is it easier for Kevin Durant to be who he is than it is for LeBron James to be who he is because of what is asked of LeBron James? Or is it because of what LeBron James wants to be asked of him? What do I mean by that? Brothers, some people search out complexity when they don't have to. Some people search out hardships when they don't have to. And oftentimes it's due to hubris and pride. Sometimes when we let go, things that we really want to happen can occur in a much easier way, as opposed to them occurring only because we want to be the prime mover in their occurrence. Sometimes we have to allow other people to do their job. We have to allow other people to fulfill their role. That's called being part of a team. People like LeBron James and Russell Westbrook and James Harden, it's very difficult for them to grasp that. And even though KD is not an alpha male personality-wise, he's never going to be that. As I've stated in other videos, there is a nobility in knowing what your limitations are. Sometimes it's better to be the greatest grunt in the military than it is to be a bad general. So good for Kevin Durant for understanding what his personality type is, what his psychological profile is, and being able to grasp what the best situation is for him. For every man, the best female for him is not the chick with the big titties and the fat ass. Sometimes it's the chick who knows how to stay her ass at home, be supportive, have a good conversation, and respect the masculine principle. But I mean, hell, if you can get a chick that has the best of both worlds. Point being is this narrative that's being promoted by the media, that it's harder to be LeBron James or it's harder to be Russell Westbrook than it is to be Kevin Durant. Well, you can say that, but it's by choice. Neither one of those two players have shown that they have an ability to play without the basketball. Kevin Durant does. He's diversified what he brings to the table to the point where he can fit into any system. Kevin Durant can fit into any system. If he were to go to the San Antonio Spurs, he'd fit in perfect there. If he were to go to the Houston Rockets, he'd fit in perfect there. If he were to go to the Boston Celtics, he'd fit in perfect there because of what he can do. Can we say that about LeBron James? Can we say that about Russell Westbrook? The answer is no.
And that is obviously true. That's obviously true if you only define being a superstar in one specific, limited, narrow way, I think, Max. First off, I'm picking between who that's a shot at, and I'm not 100% sure it is, but if I'm picking, it's more of a shot at Russ than LeBron. I mean, you can hardly fault LeBron for carrying his team to the NBA Finals. It's more like...
Well, no, actually, you can fault LeBron because he wouldn't have to carry his team if he knew how to utilize his team. Sometimes you have to know how to allow other people to do their job. If you're working in corporate America and you're working under a manager or a supervisor who's constantly micromanaging you and then on top of that does not even fully understand what your job is supposed to be and they're actually starting to hamper you, sometimes too much help, too much supervision can be a bad thing. And it's the same thing on a basketball team, on a football team. You have to let George Hill be the point guard. Let Kevin Love do his job. Let him score points and rebound. When you're LeBron James and you're trying to take all the rebounds, you're trying to run the whole offense, you have no patience, that's going to tell later on down the line. Yes, you're going to compile a lot of extravagant stats, but you're not going to win a big one.
It's more like Russ is the good player on the bad team, the one that couldn't get out of the first round. If I'm having to pick, but the truth of the matter is, I'm going to tell you this. I think, in a way, Stephen A., I think it's a shot at you a little bit. I think it's a shot at anyone who believes that the only way, and don't jump me here now, don't stop me short, the only way to be a superstar is in the Michael Jordan, LeBron James, James Harden, Kobe Bryant mold. In other words, the guy...
Well, I wouldn't put Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant in the mold of LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Oscar Robertson. Why is that? Because Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant actually played in a real system. And they showed that they could play off the basketball. So it's difficult to compare those two players to the rest of the pack. The Oscar Robertsons, the LeBron James. I'm not even evaluating greatness, quote unquote, comparatively. I'm not even evaluating that when I state that. I'm just saying that Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant were put through training mentally where they understood what the triangle offense was going to bring to themselves and to their careers. LeBron James has never been put through that level of indoctrination, and that's why he's still frustrated in how to get over the hump at 33 years old. He still doesn't get it. I mean, let's be for real. If it wasn't for a Ray Allen miracle jump shot and Draymond Green getting suspended, this dude is 1-8 in the finals, and a lot of people are not going to like that. It's just the truth. People come back and say, well, Jordan had Steve Kerr and he had John Paxson. Those guys hit timely jump shots in games 5 or 6 of the finals. Never at any point, if those players on the Bulls had missed those jump shots, would the team have lost the series. Literally, if Ray Allen misses that jump shot, they lose the series. It's over. If Draymond Green doesn't get suckered into kicking LeBron James, they go back to Golden State for Game 5 and they win that game, no problem. No problem.
Guy who at all times is ready to take over, to ISO, to dominate. And everybody else on the court fits into their domination, their center of gravity, and their system. I don't think we give enough credit to guys like KD who can do both, who fit into an existing system. You know, a motion offense that was singing before he got there. He doesn't come in. He doesn't disrupt that flow. He doesn't change the center of gravity. He can fit in. That's a skill. That's a talent. And then he can also ISO. He can also take over. He can also dominate when it's necessary. The perfect analogy to me is Tom Brady. Now, you two guys are always seem to be on the Aaron Rodgers side of this debate because he's the Kobe kind of guy on the football field. I'm looking at Brady and I'm saying, look at the talent of fitting into a system, of making yourself part of a whole, and taking over when you have to. KD can make himself part of a whole. I think that's what he's talking about here. I think he's talking about fitting in. That in itself is a skill.
I agree with you, sir. For the most part, the latter part of your diatribe, your soliloquy, I agree with that. That's truly what he was talking about. His ability to be implemented into any style.
Well, let me respond to that, Will. Let me respond to what you just asserted there. Number one, when I said that he was taking a shot, I'm not trying to act like he was trying to be negative. I'm saying that you just swept the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals, and all we've been listening to is the greatness of LeBron. And so as a result of that, when asked those kind of questions, I deduced that that's probably the first thing that came to his mind because that's who he just beat it. I mean, talk about irrelevant. OKC would be very, very close to it since they've been out in the first round since he's left.
Yes, but I think that recent history has shown that Russell Westbrook and that previous situation still stays on KD's mind. So I don't think that it's beyond the pale for us to assert or assess that he could have been referring to a Russell Westbrook as well as a LeBron James. As I stated to open up this video, I think that he was truly addressing that player archetype, that player-centric system where everything runs through them and they basically need 4 other chumps out there on the floor with them to just make them look good. I'm the lead singer in the band. You're just playing the drums in the background, or you're the background dancer. And then when the concert goes bad, I can turn around and point the finger at you.
Okay, so that's really what you look at, number one. Number two, if he's taking a shot at me, Will, I'll gladly embrace it. I don't have...
No, you wouldn't. You're already on record as stating that, Kevin Durant, you don't want to make an enemy out of me.
I don't have a problem with it because I'll tell you why. For when I look at Kevin Durant, and I don't have one definitive definition of a superstar, but I will point to you this reality that I think we ignore. Everybody want to act like so much is equal. Of course, it's a team, theoretically speaking, or from a literal perspective. It takes more than one person. But I love how guys go to the negotiating table and literally speak about how they're so much better and they're so much greater. You get 30 million, the next guy gets 3, but his responsibility is equal to yours. No, you're the $30 million man, and if that's what you want, then in big moments, I do have an expectation, and I don't see anything wrong with it.
I want to address...
I don't see anything wrong with that either, Stephen A. Smith, but I do think that we have to evaluate what the roles are of these various players. We have to evaluate what offensive system they're running and exactly what their responsibilities are at certain moments. In crucial portions of the game, do they look for that player? Are they running plays for that player? These are all things that we have to consider.
Address your point apples to apples. Well, I'll use your common denominator here. In other words, can you fit into a system? I agree, KD can do that, and that is a skill, and he deserves, that's praiseworthy. But LeBron can do more than that. LeBron can optimize the chances of any collection of people winning. And that, like, just imagine.
All of that is extremely hypothetical. There's no basis for that statement or that sentiment whatsoever. I tell you what LeBron James is best at of any player in the NBA. You can give him any collection of average players, and he can plug them into the LeBron James system, and you will win at least 50 games in the regular season. That's what you can guarantee with LeBron James. And I don't believe that you can say that about any other player in basketball. Because even with James Harden, prior to CP3 getting there, they were able to win 50-plus games. When he had Evan McHale as his coach, he was able to win 50-plus games. And his roster, his supporting cast was a little bit better than what LeBron James may have had this year, just a tad bit better. But they actually ran a spread offense. Their offense was based in the analytical assessment of Daryl Morey. LeBron James runs the LeBron James system. That's all he runs. And you can give him any 4 guys, as long as they're NBA level talent at their position, and they can win 50 games with LeBron James as the head of that snake. That's what he can do better than anybody else in the NBA, and that's the credit that I will give him. He can get them into the playoffs, and as long as they're facing the right teams, first, second round, he can get them through that. Anything beyond that, I think, is not really guaranteed, depending on the assistance that he's going to get. But that's what he can do that no other player in the NBA can do. But to say that LeBron James optimizes and he maximizes the talents of all the players around him, no, he doesn't. It's actually the opposite. He takes their life force and applies it to himself. And that's what powers the machine known as the LeBron James system. And once again, he's 3-6 in the finals. This narrative that LeBron gives you the best chance to win and he improves every system, that's a lie. And it's not based on anything of substance.
Imagine, do the thought experiment. Put him on Golden State. So now he's essentially the point forward, and the shooters around him are Clay and Steph can also put the ball on the floor, and Draymond's the do everything guy. You think they'd ever be down 3-2 facing elimination against Houston? I'm here to tell you it would never happen in a million years. So you're right, KD deserves credit for the thing that you mentioned that often goes...
Well, here's the problem once again with people like Max Kellerman. They fall so in love with the offensive side of the basketball that they forget what actually occurs on the other end of the court. Kevin Durant right now at this point in his career is a far better defensive player than LeBron James. So we can hypothesize that their offense might be better, and that's only hypothetical because, once again, LeBron James needs the ball in his hands. And the Golden State Warriors don't run a one-player-centric offense. They demand constant movement without the basketball, something that LeBron does not like to do. It also will demand constant ball movement. LeBron likes to hold the ball and dribble. The only player on their offense who's really allowed to do that and try to find shooters is Draymond. So when you have LeBron and Draymond on the court at the same time, what really is Draymond doing on the offensive end? What KD brings on the offensive end is that he's not going to hold the ball for a long time. He's going to make his offensive move very quick. He's going to make decisions very quickly on the offense. And when he doesn't make quick decisions, he starts to stagnate the offense. That's KD's one flaw. And sometimes he goes a little bit too much into the one-on-one mode. And because he's so tall and he dribbles well for a person his height, the dribble is so high, it makes it easy for a great defender to steal the ball from him. That's why he's had turnover problems in clutch moments in big games. But no, LeBron James will not optimize the Golden State Warriors offense. He'd actually take it down a notch. That's what he would do.
Goes under-celebrated. but LeBron is that plus, plus, plus. LeBron can take any group and make them the best version of what they could have been.
I'll just say this quickly. I know we're going to roll over here, but I'll just say two things quickly. Max, that's a complete hypothetical that
Thank you, sir.
everybody loves to enjoy.
You agree with it or
And
disagree
let me
with
just
it?
say this. But it would be, it's unproven. You're the evidence guy. You're out on
You
a limb
agree or
on this one
disagree?
because you don't know. You haven't seen LeBron fit into a system. LeBron plays the LeBron system. And as for you,
Hey, Will Kane. Welcome to the channel, sir. Welcome to the channel. You know, brothers, I'm starting to see a lot of people in the mainstream sports media and liberal sports media. I don't count Will Kane as being a member of the liberal sports media. But I'm seeing a lot of these people starting to use my terminologies.
for you, Stephen A., if he's got you top of mind, well, bravo to you. I don't know, but I think of you as a symbol, as a guy who's advocated for that Kobe moment. You know what I mean? That MJ style. And I get that. I just think KD has that plus.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally think he's taking a shot, but to piggyback on your point, well, best of both worlds, he has the opportunity to be the best player on the planet, on the best team, unlike anybody else. We will...
Well, he has the opportunity to take that team to another level. At the end of the day, people forget, and I oftentimes neglect to mention this, one of the main reasons why Golden State also lost that series to Cleveland is because Harrison Barnes was atrocious in those finals. He had to have been something like 7 for 48 or something like that, something horrific. There were so many issues that compounded one upon another to lead to the Cavaliers defeating the Golden State Warriors. They truly were charmed in those finals, the Cavs were. Switching out Harrison Barnes for Kevin Durant is like the equivalent of, say, the early 80s Lakers deciding that they're going to get rid of Jamal Wilkes and bring on Alex English or George Gervin, someone like that. That's basically what the Kevin Durant acquisition has been. But anyway, I just thought that this was a very interesting point made by KD, and he should defend himself. So peace.